Hey everybody, Nathan Lyle here to talk about the Spring 2015 simulcast. And this video I'm specifically talking about some action animes which means for every single one of these shows you can expect at least one fighting scene for every single episode. And so we're going to get started with High School DxD Born, which is the third in the High School DxD series. And yes, and there's a lot of arguing, is it D by D, D and D, whatever. I'm just calling it like it's spelled, DxD. We're not getting into that here. Anyways, this is quickly turning into one of my favorite anime. If you don't know about this series, go back and check out the original. It's a really great story about a boy. A girl asks him out, and he goes on his first ever date, and then she kills him. So he makes a contract with the devil to come back as her servant, so that he can continue living and going to high school. Which for me, like, if I'm dead, I'm not gonna bother going to school, but that's just me. Anyways, this is a great show, which I feel like it has a little bit of everything. It's got great action, great comedy, a very interesting storyline, plenty of fan service, and it gets progressively better every single season. The plot twists, they keep coming at you. And the characters continue to develop season by season, episode by episode. Like it just continues to improve upon itself, and these guys are doing a great job with it. And I really hope there's a fourth season. I hope there's a 10th season. I don't want this show to stop. And then we're moving on to Triage X, which is the exact opposite. I need this show to stop. Like, Triage X is the only anime that I was not able to finish the simulcast. I made it to episode 10, and then halfway through that I was like, you know what, I'm sitting here trying to force myself to watch it, and I just can't do it. I just can't. I can't even. I can only odd. Anyways, it's one of those shows that, like, I don't know, it's good enough that I feel bad about not liking it, and I feel the need to defend myself for not liking it, but I simply just did not enjoy it. For one thing, so much of it is just, yes, there's some good action sequences, but that's about all that I like about it. I really don't like a lot of these characters. There is some good character building moments, some good development that shows up in there, but all of the romantic aspects of it seem very forced, and so much of this just seems highly unrealistic. I never expected to be the guy who said this, but their boobs are just too damn big. How you gonna be walking around with damn triple Z's and doing martial arts? Let's be honest here. Most girls with boobs that big, they would have trouble standing up straight, and she's just flying all around kicking people and stuff. No! I don't know, it's just, it has all the elements that I normally enjoy in a story, but for some reason it didn't fit with me. It was hard to stomach. I think I enjoyed the first half of it, but as it kept dragging on, it got to a point where I had to force myself to sit through it. I just did not enjoy watching it. And then there's also the La Eden de Grisaya, whatever. And that's the sequel to the Fruit of the Grisaya, which, if you've seen that one, definitely see this one. And if you haven't seen the Fruit of the Grisaya, the Eden of Grisaya is still worth checking out. You'll just be a little confused about some of the characters and their relationships with each other. But honestly, I wasn't a huge fan of the Fruit of the Grisaya. I felt like it was good. I just did not really enjoy sitting through it. But with the Eden, it's still not necessarily an enjoyable anime per se, but I felt like the story got much more interesting this time around, and so it was easier to take it in. I felt like there was a much better payoff with this, and so, yeah, honestly, if there's a third season, I don't know if I'll watch it, but the second one was worth watching. And then there's the title alone should give you some sort of hint. Is it wrong to try and pick up girls in a dungeon? That's the title of it, and you just have to check it out. It's a great story. It takes place in ancient times. Watching it kind of feels like watching someone play an online RPG. It's about this guy who's a young adventurer. He's the only adventurer in his familia, which familiars are they've got like the gods and goddesses. They come to Earth and they have heroes who work for their families, and that's their familia. In this story, there's this one kid who, he's the only member of his goddess's familia, and he's still very brand new to the whole adventuring thing. The first episode starts with him falling in love with a girl because she saved his life from a minotaur in the dungeon. And the story, it's a good story. It's incredibly funny, some good fight sequences, and just there's a lot of good character growth and a lot of development here. You get to see the main character continue to grow and develop in his skills as an adventurer, and he meets a lot of interesting characters along the way who help shape him, shape his travels and stuff. And it's pretty exciting. It's worth taking a look at if you're into that kind of stuff. And then there's also the heroic legend of Arslan, and this one, much like the dungeon story, it takes place like ancient times, where you got people riding horses and fighting battles, and it's about Arslan, who is the crown prince of the kingdom of Pars. And well, like it's hard to describe this without completely spoiling it, but it's the whole story of his long and hard, like lifelong fight to become king, I guess. And it just talks about some of the trials and tribulations he goes through. Like, you get to see the very first time he steps on the battlefield and how he reacts when things go wrong. Some of the friendships he makes along the way and stuff. I can't really go too deep into the story without spoiling some of the plot. And for me, the plot development, the twists and turns, the new characters that pop up and end up kind of, that's all part of what makes this so special, makes this so fun to watch. So for me, it's this a really great story. It's got some moments of humor, it's got plenty of good action, and it's just, it's worth paying attention to. It's one that I actively look forward to watching. It's one that, if it went to 500 episodes, I would sit here for every single one of them. And in all honesty, I kind of hope it's 500 episodes, because I feel like this is the kind of story that it needs to be. It's one that can be drawn out so that we have time to really see all of these things like develop, to see the dominoes start to fall into place. It's also it's got some similarities with like Game of Thrones, and then because the whole thing is there's a bunch of different kingdoms who are like fighting each other off, armies invading castles and stuff like that going on. A lot of sword fights and lots of bows and arrows, a lot of stuff like that going on. None of the sex though, there are no boobies here. But it's still a great story nonetheless. And the last one on this one that I'm going to talk about in this video is Ninja Slayer the animation, which there's a whole story behind this that I'm not going to get into. All I can say is that, it's worth taking a look at. It's about 12 minutes each episode, so go in there, watch the first 2 episodes, see if you like it. The style of animation, it may not be everybody's favorites, because the fight sequences look like someone just cut out a figure from a piece of paper and they're just holding it up with the stick and moving it across the screen. And it's weird, and it seems like something like a 12-year-old might come up with, but for some reason it works in this concept. It works with this story. It's very unique and interesting, and it's got a great storyline to it, and it's just, it's enjoyable. I can sit through it. And so out of this section, my top 3, I would say definitely School DxD Born. Just the entire series, I'm a huge fan of that, so I'm a little biased. I'm going to love everything that has to do with this series. I feel like it's as close as an anime can get to perfect. And then I'd say my second favorite is probably Is It Wrong to Try and Pick Up Girls in the Dungeon? Because like I said, great storyline, a lot of great humor, good fighting sequences there. You get to see a lot of growth with the characters, great plot development in there. And then I would have to say third favorite definitely are the Heroic Legend of Arslan. So check out some of those. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you're looking forward to for the summer simulcast. And then be sure to check out all the other videos on this playlist to see if there are to see all the other anime that I've been watching.